I'm James Marriott. I work as part of Platform.
Okay, brilliant.
I'm an artist.
And you've been on the panel about our future environment.
Artist in the environment, that's right, yeah.
Yes, brilliant. And sort of what have been the main, because you were one of the speakers on the panel, what are the main points you've been sort of bringing to the table?
There was a very lively debate about the issues, and one of the issues that was a lively debate about was about what does it mean when the arts are sponsored and supported by corporations which are essentially driving forward climate change.
Yeah.
And of course that caused a lot of debate, and I felt personally I felt happy that that was brought out, because I think it's a difficult issue. You know, it's a political issue, and it's very easy for events like this to be kind of positive and just try and look at the bright side of everything. But we need to look at the concrete realities. What does it mean when, you know, all the commanding heights of British cultural institutions, Tate, British Museum, National Gallery, National Portrait Gallery, etc., are funded by Shell and BP. What does it mean, the fact that we're basically financing part of our culture from a structure which is pulling oil and gas out of the ground and shoving it into the atmosphere and driving forward climate change? That's the fundamental things that they do, and by sponsoring the arts, they enable that fundamental thing to be done more easily.
Yes, and human rights abuses on so many more different levels than just climate change, like
absolutely, yes,
Niger Delta, and
yeah, and that was brought up too, which is great. I mean, I kind of focused it a bit on that. The climate change because of the context, but we could have talked about those wider issues, you know. And what's interesting to me is that we didn't talk about this, but we touched on it a bit, which is that as arts funded bodies, we have some rights over the Arts Council. I can go to my MP and say, I don't like what the Arts Council is doing, that's outrageous, they shouldn't be doing that. Whether or not it has any effect, who knows, but at least I have some rights. If I'm funded by a corporation, that right doesn't exist. I'm absolutely supplicant, and therefore I'm also supplicant, and that supplicatory nature creates censorship, and I try to give some very concrete examples of that censorship. You know, whether or not people are doing it whether or not people is consciously driven by the sponsors or not, it exists, it takes place, and that for me is a tragedy. Especially as we're being driven to have more and more corporate sponsorship. Of course, the bit I know about is the oil and gas sector, but I'm sure it's the same if you've got sponsorship from HSBC or from Unilever or whatever.
And how do you think we drive towards solutions for arts organisations and artists in this?
The key thing is to use the wonderful brilliance, the creative brilliance of artists to go, okay, it doesn't have to be like this. We can imagine out of this book, you know, we can easily imagine a situation where creative activity does not impact on the climate in the way it does at the moment. That's very practical things, such as, for example, what Julie's Bicycle pushes forward, of considering the climate impact of your touring, for example. But there's also the more conceptual side, the more imaginative side, in the sense, the thematic side, the political side, which says this moment, this short moment where so much culture is funded by institutions which drive forward climate change, that will pass, and let's use our imagination to leap out of it, to make its ending sooner, to bring on into the now that future.
And there are things like that happening. I have seen commissions for works that sort of subvert, that are made to happen in Shell-sponsored galleries, that subvert the messages that they're giving out, like sound pieces and things like that.
That's right. I mean, we've been working together with a thing called Liberate Tate, which is we're creating an audio piece which is going to take place for your average punters who go to the Tate, and on the Tate Britain, Tate Modern, and the boat between it, and they will be allowed to listen to an alternative audio tour, a sound work made by a number of different artists, which gives you a different understanding of what the nature of those institutions are, and also the nature of the finance that is coming into those institutions. And for me, that's a very exciting development. It's like using the obliqueness of art to provoke the imagination of as many people as possible. It relates a bit to a quote, which I can't quite remember, that Jay gave about Emily Dickinson, saying that you approach the truth but approach it from an oblique angle. But that's a terrible paraphrase.
Brilliant.
Maybe Jay thought it too properly.
Thanks very much for talking to me.
Thank you.